They're coming up to the line now, and the red lights go out, and the race gets underway then. So it's Matt Priestwood and Matthew Highcock that are side by side down towards Old Hall Corner for the first time. They're going 3 wide, a little bit further back, but it looks like it's going to be Highcock all the way around the outside that might get the lead here. He's going to have the inside line as they head down towards Cascades Corner for the first time. There's nearly 40 of them. They more or less all get safely through. 1 or 2 a little bit sideways and skittery as they headed through Old Hall Corner, but I think they've all made it. And it is Matthew Highcock in the treble 5 car that's got the lead of the race then. From number 18, I think it is, in second place. The car of 173, I beg your pardon, the car of Matt Priestwood, and then a bit of a gap back to third place. That's the car being started by Alan Caulfield, number 5.
Yep, so clean start, that's good news. A lot of them to get through those first couple of corners, as you made the point, and they all managed it safely. And a big gaggle of BMWs make their way around the Shell hairpin. What a fantastic series this has become. So popular, capacity grids, and great racing throughout. And we're bound to get a few comers and goers because this is a long race. There will be certain cars that were perhaps qualified by the quicker driver in the team that might then struggle a bit later on. So early track position is important, but there are plenty of opportunities to regain that track position a little bit later on in the race. But for now, it is car 555 that leads them down the hill. Matthew Highcock, the man from Stockport, who is going it alone for the duration of the 90 minutes, has got his car out in the wind, but so far, Ian, not really able to pull away.
No, absolutely not. I think it's Anthony Seddon, actually, in the number 5 car, rather than Alan Caulfield, as I said initially. Got far too many pieces of paper and grids and things in front of me here in the commentary box. It really is quite confusing. Anyway, up towards Clay Hill and Druids they go for the first one. So a 90-minute race. Lots of time for this to play out, but we've seen some very good racing from the 116s over the past couple of seasons. Of course, they're very evenly matched. It's a very affordable way to go into endurance racing as well, and it's a credible car. I mean, there are other low-cost endurance race series, but they possibly don't use a car quite as impressive as a BMW 116. There's the number 31 car making a bit of a move there. That's being started by Sam Holman. That particular car, the green one, about halfway down the field. But at the end of that lap 1, it's Matthew Highcock that leads the way in treble 5 from number 173. Matt Priestwood in second place, and third is Anthony Seddon, number 5. But the top 10 only covered by 6.5 seconds at the end of lap 1.
Indeed so. Down through Cascades they go then. Highcock leading this leading quintet then that heads down the Lakeside straight. Then that gap back to 6th position, which was the number 87 car of Louis Woodward. But Highcock, Priestwood and Seddon the top 3. Anthony Seddon, the man from Tarpley, so not a long way to travel to get to Oulton Park here. Very much his home circuit, sharing that car with former BMW Compact Cup racer Alan Caulfield, who is still racing BMWs. I suppose this in some ways the natural successor of that style of car, albeit a different kind of race format.
I was just going to say, one of the biggest improvers on the first lap, possibly not a surprise, the 105 car was started by Darren Turner. Yes, that Darren Turner, and he made up 5 places on the opening lap of the race in the car that he's sharing with Michael Lavery. So he started the car, I think, made up 5 places on the opening lap. I think he's won 6 24-hour races, 3 times at Le Mans in his career. He's raced just about everything, hasn't he? The British Touring Car Championship as well, British GT over the years. So it's good to see him in one of the DTO cars here this weekend, and he said he made up some ground on the opening lap of the race.
DTO have taken over the pit lane this weekend. I think they've got about 5 garages between them. So many cars that they're running in the series, but it's great to have a team like that on board, a team that competes at higher levels of British motor racing as well, and Darren Turner bringing a real touch of class to the grid. But, you know, I don't think he's going to have it easy. He might not even be the fastest driver on the grid. Many people would expect him to be, but it's a very high level of talent out there on show, particularly among the teams at the front, and it is the top 2, I would say, starting just slightly now to pull away. Highcock leading from Priestwood, then a bit of a gap back to the Seddon car in 3rd position, which has got its hands full, hasn't it, of the Peter Keane number 151 car. That is the battle really to focus on, I think, as they head towards Old Hall Corner. 2 pairs of cars at the front of the field. And
the lap record's gone already. A 2:10.397 for Matt Priestwood in second place, beating the lap record of 2:11.27 set by Sam Carrington Yates, another very local driver, who has was quite successful in 116s for a couple of seasons, but that record has gone. The quality and the depth of talent in this series just improves year on year, and as does the quantity of cars. I think 38 in the end we had to start. Look here though, Matt Priestwood really pushing Matthew Highcock along that stretch towards Island Bend. Now they go through the left-hander, bit of curb taken by both of them, not the next two drivers. They're heading now into Shell Oil's corner, and they are still in the same order, still in the same formation. If anything, though, possibly, the cars in third and fourth have got a bit closer to them again.
Quite possible, because as the leaders started to battle, they inevitably lose a bit of pace. Even if you're not actively defending as the race leader, you're just a little distracted, as you would be if someone was pushing you down the lakeside straight, and that can sometimes make you just drop a tenth or so here and there. But anyway, over hilltop they head. The top two absolutely together. And this, as Ian was making the point earlier on, is the joy of one make endurance championship, which is really starting to catch on now. Battle for fifth position, and that is the 228 car looking up the inside into Hislop's, committing to the move, clattering over the curb and almost clattering into the side of James Dunn. Thankfully, contact was avoided. The position stays unchanged, and James Waring, the man from Preston in the 228 car, stays down in sixth position. But that was a spirited effort to get to the inside through the Hislop chicane, but that big curb, which is there to deter you from corner cutting, did its job really, because I don't think he'll take that line again in a great hurry, because it nearly ended in disaster. But thankfully they avoided the collision, and that battle for fifth continues.
Meanwhile, the battle for the lead continues as well, and it's the first two, treble 5 and 173, a little bit of a gap back to third place, Anthony Seddon, and then Peter Keane. He's been a race winner in the past. There's Louis Woodward, another past race winner in this 116 trophy. So there's quite a few drivers that have enjoyed success in this category. It does run as a series of races. It's not a point scoring championship. The sister category, or sister competition, the 116 sprint series, that's now a championship for the first time this year, after initially running last year. That's not here this weekend. That happens when there's a two-day meeting featuring these cars, and many will do both the sprints and the long distance race as well during the course of the weekend. But these two evenly matched. Priestwood did another best lap of the race, a 2:10.105, but Highcock did a 2:10.128. There really is very little to choose between these two, who once again are edging away a little bit from Anthony Seddon in third, Peter Keane fourth, Dunn in fifth, and James Waring in sixth position.
I suspect what we're seeing here, Ian, between the top two anyway, is a little bit of working together. I think they know they've got the pace if they don't battle to pull a gap on the rest of the field. That's always a handy thing to have, and not really worth taking a major risk at the beginning of a 90-minute race to try and get the lead at all costs. So I suspect we're going to see them work together for a little while. How long that lasts, I'm not sure. Maybe as we get closer to the pit window, then we'll see the battle start to erupt a little bit more, as they'll both want to try and steal the advantage going into that pit window, during which two mandatory pit stops must be made. More on that later. Down towards the Hislop chicane, meanwhile, comes this continuing scrap for fifth position. And actually, they've got some company now, because they've been reeled in by Louis Woodward, number 87, and the number 34 car. That was the car started by Toby O'Reilly. They are starting to creep onto the tail of these two cars as well. So two for the lead, two for third, and then now four cars in a line battling over fifth position.
It probably is relevant to bring those pit stops up sooner rather than later. So there's two mandatory stops, and they have to be 3 minutes, 60 seconds, sorry, I beg your pardon, in length in this particular championship. But Matt Priestwood is going to have to be stationary for another 30 seconds because he won the last round. So really, he could do with getting past Matthew Highcock and pulling away by about half a minute if he's going to have any chance of winning this race. That's because he was successful in the previous round. The fact that Matthew Highcock was the winner in the previous round, well, that doesn't count in terms of any form of penalty for this particular race. They're not cumulative, it's just based on the previous round. Deep intake of breath there, or sharp intake of breath there from you, Andy. That was a bit close, wasn't it, into Oulton?
It was indeed. That was James Waring finally getting up the inside of the 252 of James Dunn, but then he ran wide on the exit, and Dunn has come back at him, I think, as they head for Cascades, where it's also side by side for third position, and that's Peter Keane trying the long way round on Anthony Seddon to no avail. So Seddon keeps car number 5 in third position, Keane in fourth. But what is going on in the battle for fifth place? They will be the next group of cars into shot through Island Bend. Wait for it. There they are. Well, it's anyone's guess. They're side by side, and around the outside, is that still 252 in front?
Yeah, it looked like Louis Woodward had squeezed into 6th position. No, he's got the lead now, Louis Woodward. Up the inside, he's gone into Shallow's corner in the number 87 car. So Louis Woodward from 7th at the beginning of the lap, now up into 5th position there. But there's 2 cars side by side behind him. The other one trying to buy into all of this as well is the number 34 car. That's the car started by Lewis Tyndall, who I think has also been a race winner in the past. So there is quite a lot of talent down this 116 trophy field.
Over hilltop they come then. He is the man on the move, is Tyndall now, trying to make a position on the run into his lops. He's stuck on the outside line though. It is the 228 car that he's trying to get past, and he can't quite do it. So after all of that battling, and it looked like James Waring had made the move stick at Old Hall Corner, all it ultimately did was cost them both the position, and it has waved through now. Louis Woodward, who already is starting to check out in the white number 87 car. He's got, what, 3 or 4 cars length over the next 3 as they arrive up at the double apex right-hander at Druids. So a good example there of how momentum-based these cars are. They're not the most powerful cars. If you start going side by side, you lose corner speed, you lose speed down the next straight, and ultimately you can lose positions too.
Yeah, absolutely right. It's very important to carry that momentum if you can. So just 1.6 litre 116i models. These are the cars that were produced from around 2004 to 2006. Out of our commentary box window, I can tell you it's still very close for the overall lead of the race as well, with no change in the order. Highcock and Priestwood still the top 2, but we're still watching this little battle a bit further back. And what's interesting now is that we've got 25, which is Ethan Hall, just ahead of the 30 car, which is Harry Miles. So this is for the final 2 positions inside the top 10. But here are the leaders, and much as it was about 3 laps ago, almost literally, there's about 2 inches there, isn't there, between the back of 555, the front of the 173 car, between Highcock and Priestwood. And that really are very close together indeed, very evenly matched. Matt Priestwood, the 19-year-old powder coater from Halifax, winner of the previous round. He's been a Polaris British SXS racing champion as well in the past, and this he lists as his favourite circuit of all, Oulton Park. He likes the technical aspects of this circuit. He'd like it even more, though, I think, if he could find a way past Matthew Highcock, and that is proving difficult right now.
Oh, well, indeed so, especially given that the point that you made before about that extra time to be spent in the pit lane, as the Louis Woodward car clobbers over the curb, headbutts the marker post on the apex, but carries a lot of speed over the hill and leaves in his dust now the side-by-side battle behind him, which is still going on between Dunn and Waring. James Waring trying to go right round the outside now into his lops, and that might just work. He's got the inside line for the left-hander, and at last he thinks he's found a way through, and the 228 car gains the position. James Waring, who will hand over to Matty Street later on in the race, now has to go defensive on the exit of Knickerbrook Corner because Dunn comes back at him, and they are wheel to wheel once more heading towards Druids. Dunn will be on the outside line though, Ian, and that's not really the place you want to be into Druids.
No, absolutely not. So they are heading underneath the vehicle bridge now, those 2, as they make their way up to Lodge, and side by side further back here as well. This is the fight for what's now 6th place, isn't it? Really 3 of them together, but it's the 228 car of Waring trying to find a gap that's not really there. And he doesn't indeed make contact. The wheel hooked over the curb, though, for the 252 car of James Dunn. Does that cost him a little bit of momentum as they head up to Old Hall that time? We'll pick that up out of our commentary box window. It's still very close between them. And I can tell you, up the inside into Old Hall has gone the 252 car. 228 car, I should say, of Waring to take the position away from Dunn. So that's a change for 6th position. We didn't catch that on the stream. We did see that out of our commentary box window, though. And
what I can tell you is Dunn is going back round the outside again now at Cascades. This is the 4th consecutive corner. He's found himself on the outside line, and still he can't make the move stick. This battle began at his lops a lap ago, and they have been side by side ever since. James Dunn again gets his car ahead, but that's the outside line into Island Bend, and I think that we're going to see Waring stick it in on the inside line, try to carry the speed through the left-hander. He's sideways over the curb, gathers it together, and finally I think maybe James Dunn might have made the move stick. Yes, the Gulf liveried car appears in 6th position, but he went round the outside at Druids, the outside at Lodge, the outside at Old Hall, switched back to the outside at Cascades, and finally got the move made on the outside at Island Bend, but he's not escaping yet, is he? A slightly scrappy run for both of them through the Britain's chicane, and they might be side by side again at Hislop's as they were a lap ago.
Wouldn't be a surprise. It's starting to shape up that way, isn't it? Down towards Hislop. So it's the blue and orange car in the middle of the road, but is it going to be the 34 car that actually appears? Well, he's got one place up as Lewis Tyndall and the Anthony Seddon Racing prepared car. He's got one place. He's got the position away from 228, which is the car started by James Waring. So he's lost a couple of positions now in recent corners. And the complexion of that battle just changing a little bit. There's the 87 car of Louis Woodward. He was involved in a scrap with them, but look how much daylight he's got between himself and the 252 car now in 5th position. Louis Woodward there does have about 8 seconds to make up, though, on the car in front, 7 or 8 seconds to catch Peter Keane, who's in 4th place. So it's just a question now of Louis getting his head down, I think, in the number 87 car.
The most frustrated man in that battle, though, no doubt, James Waring, because that's twice now he's tried and almost succeeded in getting past James Dunn, and twice it's ended up costing him a position. But now into the pit lane, we're getting a few of the front runners, including Dunn. In also was that Waring who followed him. Possibly Woodward is in too, so we've got 3 of the top 8 cars pitting early. Yeah,
it's the first opportunity they've had to do so, because the pit lane window opens 15 minutes into the race, and we've had 15 and a half minutes now of this race. You see the cars are having to park at a 45-degree angle. That's because the pit lane is tight and there's 38 cars to accommodate, so drivers have to drive in at a 45-degree angle, stop for 60 seconds, or a bit longer if you're the likes of Mac Priestwood, who has to serve a 90-second stop. Then they have to be pushed back out into the race by their team. And of course there's penalties if you're speeding in the pit lane, or you make an unsafe release, or your pit stop is not long enough, or any other problems like that. But as we watch the battle for 3rd position coming through Britain's again, there's still no change in the order there. It's Anthony Seddon in the eponymously named team car and Peter Keane together in 151, but it's the 555 car of Matty Highcock that leads the way from 173 Mac Priestwood, as it has been all the way through this race so far.
Yeah, Priestwood showing no interest in challenging for the lead yet, is he? I think he is still content to work with Highcock. Clearly believes that even if he could get through, he probably wouldn't be able to pull away, so better not to waste time battling and just keep on following each other around. Meanwhile, out of the pit lane has gone the number 87 car now, so that's the first of the 2 stops done for Louis Woodward, and he will be the highest placed of the cars to have made a pit stop. Quite a lot of time lost, I would say, by car 228. James Waring's handed over now, we presume, to Matty Street, but seems to be rejoining the track later than expected.
Yes, a bit longer to complete that stop than you might have thought. I wonder if it, when you've got the driver change there to do it, can sometimes take a little bit longer than the 60 seconds. Looks like the race leader's going to go into the pit lane this time, so Matthew Highcock heads into the pits. Matt Priestwood there is staying out, though, so he will go into the lead of the race as we're seeing the number 28 car come back out into the race. That's Melissa Bexley after she's made an early stop in the race.
Yep, so in comes the leader then. Not at all surprising to me, this, to see the leading contenders coming in early, because, as we said, if we get a safety car later on, you can't pit during the safety car period, and because you don't lose a lap by pitting here, you can sort of get a free pit stop if you pit early and then a safety car comes out. So I wouldn't be surprised to see a few teams getting maybe both of their stops done as early as possible, just in case we get that safety car interruption later on. It is the kind of circuit at which safety cars can make appearances, as we've seen already today, so this could be the strategy for most of the front-running teams.
Yeah, I have seen a race already this season, not in the 116s, where you've effectively had cars struggling to be able to make their pit stop because of the rule about not stopping behind the safety car. So that is something that can come into play. Nothing to stop you making your 2 pit stops back-to-back if you want to in this, and we've certainly seen that done before. Matt Highcock, you can see sort of in the middle of that line of cars in the pit lane in the treble 5, but it is quite busy in pit lane now. There's at least 4, 5, 6, 7 or 8 cars in that shot alone, and we had a few in on the previous lap as well. There's Matt Highcock getting back out into the race. Also being pushed back out into the race is the number 9 car as well, which is Julian Howe. And there's Highcock, so he'll probably feed in something like, I don't know, about 2/3 of a lap behind the race leader now. It's 60 seconds stationary. It's probably 80 or 90 seconds by the time you've gone in and out of the pit lane as well, at the mandatory speed limit that's required of you in the pit lane. And but Highcock back out into the race, so we'll have to see where exactly he does slot in, and if indeed he maybe decides to make 2 early stops back to back. I'm pretty sure I remember him doing something similar before. He was, by the way, the winner of the race here at Oulton Park last October, so he is a form man here at Oulton Park.
Yeah, well, as long as you can make 2 pit stops without going a lap down, then I suspect that is not a bad strategy, really. He's rejoined the circuit. We'll have to wait and see exactly how much time he's lost to the race leader. Well, the race leader just crossed the line, so that gives you an idea. It's about half a lap, so it would be touch and go as to whether you could make 2.
Yeah, I don't think you can quite. I mean, as I say, it's 60-second stationary, but then you've got to add the time in and out. And as we've just seen, a new fastest lap for Matt Priest with a 2:09.672. So there's not a lot of leeway there, is there, to really make that a really good option.
Although, of course, the race leader will eventually make his first pit stop as well,
exactly.
which then buys you that extra time.
Exactly.
Interesting, isn't it?
But then you have all kinds of things that could come into play, like a safety car then could shuffle the pack, and where does that safety car pick the pack up, and all of those kind of things. So, yeah, different things can come into play there, but there is the race leader, so he has got other cars around him now. We'll see where exactly he's slotted in when they come back through, but through our headsets we can hear the regular wailing of the pit lane klaxon that sounds every time a driver heads into pit lane. So here's Highcock. Is he going to go straight back in? He is, you know. He is. So I've got a feeling, whether it was this meeting last year, he did the same thing. But I'm sure he has done it before. And, yeah, 2 stops back-to-back for Matthew Highcock. There you can see the Treble 5 team with their liveried hoodies. And, Highcock back in for his second stop. And, looking at our Tom screens, he's now got a 2 next to his name in the PS column, which means 2 pit stops for him so far.
It's a strategy that can only really be carried out by drivers who are driving on their own. Because if you've got a second driver, then you're sort of obligated in a way, aren't you, to try and sort of evenly share the drive time. You can't have one driver do 1 lap and the other driver do the other sort of 95 minutes. So he has free rein to do what he likes, and I think this is a really smart strategy. But now, actually, it makes perfect sense for Priestwood to stay out as long as possible and kind of hope for a safety car, maybe, that would trap his rival, biggest rival for the race, a lap down. This is going to be fascinating. We are only 22 minutes into the race, and already one of our potential race winners has made both of their mandatory pit stops.
Number 89, which is Freddie Tatham, that was who the black and white flag was for. That's a flag that indicates your driving standards are being observed, and usually these days that means for exceeding track limits as well. We saw in qualifying quite a lot of drivers had 1 or more lap times disallowed for exceeding track limits. There's Matthew Highcock going back out into the race for a second time, and he has done his mandatory stops now, both of them, his obligations.
Priestwood is in though, so Priestwood pitted just as the 555 car left the pit lane, so he won't actually go a lap down quite. That's worked perfectly. Yeah,
that's worked well for him. So the question will be, will Priestwood do the same thing? That's the question. The problem that Priestwood has still got in this race is this 30-second success penalty from the previous round, because it's hard to see how he's going to make that up, particularly now that Highcock has served both of his stops smoothly as far as one could tell. Where is that going to come back to play for Priestwood? So it might just be a question of seeing how far up the order he can finish today, rather than going for overall honours.
And that 30 seconds is served at the second stop?
The first stop, yeah.
Okay, right.
So the one he's doing right now.
Okay, interesting. So we'll know in a couple of laps' time then exactly what that has cost him. We know it will cost him 30 seconds in theory, but once they're both on the same strategy, and if they've both then made both of their pit stops, then a safety car at that point could well close them back in together.
That's right. So who's going to be leading the race then after all of this? It's going to be number 30, Harry Miles, as Priestwood goes back out into the race. So Harry Miles it will be that takes the lead of the race. Antonio Sousa in the 111 car will move up into second position. And then I think the 101 car will be third, which has been started by Ben Wilshire. So that will be the top 3. Ben Wilshire, who's the 41-year-old from Hampshire, the founder of Driven International Racetrack Design. And he's in one of the DTO Motorsport Pedcars. He's a big fan of Oulton Park, and he has good memories of taking supercar wins here at Oulton Park and enjoys the undulation. So Ben Walsh have been successful here in the past, but in a very different machine, the supercar to 116 trophy car.
Yeah, these cars move around a lot more, don't they? They've got a lot less grip, definitely, but they don't look any less fun, do they? And the racing certainly is entertaining. Another side-by-side battle here heading for Ireland then. That's the number 25 car of Ethan Hall trying to go around the outside and then getting boxed in behind, I think, maybe a lapped car. And ending up losing a position instead, although the lap car then gets out of the way, annoyingly, at the very next corner. So that sort of sorts itself out. Then comes the first of the DTO cars. I noticed 3 of the DTO cars had found each other on track before the pit stops began. They may well now have separated each other, but Darren Turner's opening stint in the race has been completed. He's handed over the 105 car now to Michael Lavery, which I think might be one of the DTO cars making their way through the Britain chicane and up over Hilltop right now.
So we're coming up to 25 minutes gone in this race. 90-minute race it is in total. There's the 105 car now. Is that, have we had a driver change in that? Yes, we have. So it may or may not be Darren Turner still in that car, because you've got 2 mandatory pit stops and mostly 2 drivers in the cars. You never quite know who's in the car after the first pit stop, because you don't know necessarily whether they've done a driver change or not. So it's all a bit of a mystery after that. So
it's a mandatory pit stop as opposed to a mandatory driver change.
Correct.
Right,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Interesting stuff. Well, that doesn't affect most of the real front-running drivers, because they're mainly solo drivers, aren't they? Although there are a couple of the cars that have been at the front of the pack who will be doing driver changes at some point. But keep an eye on the lap times maybe of that 105 car, see where they have put themselves in the order. We've got a battle for the lead, by the way, at the moment, admittedly between 2 cars that haven't stopped yet. Car 111 leads the way at the moment, Antonio Souza, and number 30, Harry Miles, was only 0.4 of a second behind at the beginning of the lap. They're going to be coming around towards the end of the lap, I'd imagine, in the next 20 seconds or so, but they may not be following it on screen because they weren't at the front of the field earlier on, but those 2 yet to stop are pretty much nose to tail in the fight for the race lead.
Black and white flag has gone out to the 969 car of Bart Lang, so he now is also being warned about track limits. By the looks of it, it's a car he shares with Simon Moss as well, 2 of them together in that car. Bart Lang, who is 29 years of vegetarian justice, now based up the road in Wigan, a university lecturer in motorsport. Done lots of rallying, but not so much racing. But this, I think, actually his first race possibly at his favourite circuit here at Oulton Park, where his team is being run by the University Centre Myasco Motorsport students. He thanks them for their hard work.
Into the pit lane has come the second-placed car, so that's Harry Miles. Just as I was picking up that battle for the lead, he bails for the pit lane, leaves the 111 now as a clear race leader. Also, we've had some dramas for the number 78 car. James Poole has been in the pit lane for a few laps. Kieran tells us from the pit lane it's a rear control rod change on car 78, and that is why he's been stuck in the pit lane for a number of laps now. So number 78 still in the garage, but not serving, I suppose they can count it as one of the mandatory stops as long as he entered the pit lane after the window had opened, but clearly spending a longer time in the pit lane than they wanted to.
Yeah, just looking at Matt Priestwood, the lap that he made his stop took 1 minute and 50 seconds more. Now that was a 90-second stationary, so it's about 20 seconds additional that you lose by the looks of it in your pit stop compared to just the time that you're stationary. Bold move there around the outside. Of course, we are going to be in a position where we're starting to get cars on different laps. Most of them have now made at least 1 pit stop. There's a couple that have. There's one that's made 2, including the treble 8 car of David Hudson, who somehow now has he done 2? Maybe he's in the pits now still, but he was showing ahead of Matthew Highcock, so he must be still in the pit lane now. Although it doesn't say that on the timing screen at the moment. We'll pick that up as the race goes on. I'm struggling to see how he could have got ahead of Matthew Highcock, but
I suspect he's on an outlap.
Yeah.
The timing screen needs another lap just to.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah. It does happen occasionally, only very occasionally, but no, I think that's probably all that is, because you would expect, wouldn't you, the 555 car to emerge from all of this. Realistically, with the race lead, if we have an uninterrupted race, everybody makes their 2 stops, no safety cars, no dramas, they should come out with the race lead, over whom we don't know, but anything other than that would be a surprise, I think.
Yeah, and Highcock is now the first of the 2 stoppers as well. At 25th position he is overall. He is, how far behind was showing a lap down, but it might not be quite a full lap down on the it probably is though, just about, I would think. There's the 25 car of Ethan Hall. He's in 12th position. He's made 1 stop. The only ones that haven't made any stops at all are Antonio Souza, who now leads in the 111 car, the number 40 car, which is Giles Carter, who started, and Tristan Rogers, and the 82 car, which is interesting. That's not stopped because it's got 3 different drivers that they need to share the driving between. It was started by Mark McCulloch, but it's also got Stefan Guarneri and James Rolfe aboard as well, that one. So those are the only 3 that I can see have yet to make any stop at all, Andy.
Not sure if you mentioned this, but Louis Woodward has made 2 stops as well. So number 87, another of the front runners, has made a 2nd stop and has emerged 28th position.
Yes.
But behind, crucially, Highcock by a fair chunk, something like 20-odd seconds adrift. So he's lost, we said, I think he lost time the first time he pitted, and has now definitely lost time the 2nd time. So those 2, really the only 2 expected front runners that have made both their stops.
Yeah, that's right, and quite a little bit of time between them then. We've only just gone past the half-hour mark, so they're going to have an hour or so of solid driving to do. Likes of Louis Woodward and Matthew Highcock here in the GAZ Shocks 116 trophy here at BMW Live. Hope you're enjoying your day here at Oulton Park. If you're here at the circuit, or if not, you're enjoying watching the live stream wherever you are in the world. Good afternoon to you from Andy McEwen and myself, Ian Soman, as we are now watching a scrap that involves Ethan Hall. Who's the 30 car? That was the car that was leading briefly, wasn't it?
Harry Miles.
Harry Miles. He's made just the 1 stop, I think, so far.
Oh, and onto the grass goes the 25, I think, of Ethan Hall. He tried the outside line at the Island Bend, and that rarely works well. Now, did he bounce his way back on the track? Yes, he did, the blue and pink car. But it's a very bumpy, rutted runoff area there. You can easily do some damage to the suspension, to the floor of the car. Hopefully he's avoided that. He's rejoined just ahead of car 105, I think, hasn't he? Which is the DTO machine of Michael Lavery and Darren Turner. As Ian made the point, we don't know exactly who is in that car right now. But thankfully car 25 seems to have emerged from that relatively unscathed, but a scary place to run out of road, Ian.
Absolutely. Ethan Hall, who's only 18 years old, from Newdigate. A student at college in his 2nd season of racing, and he's backed by the Classic FX Porsche race team. And yeah, a moment for him, and also a moment for one of the front runners in the early stages of the race. Now that's come to rest on the access road, but there's some damage down the right-hand side of the driver's side of that car. That's the 228 car, of course, James Waring and Matty Street. Again, not sure who's in that car at the moment. But that's come to rest at basically the Knickerbrook on the old circuit there, pre-chicane circuit. That's come to rest.
Yeah, and again, having spent many a day down at that part of the circuit, I can say you don't often see cars end up there by themselves. And yes, there's normally something interesting has happened, usually coming out of the left-hand element of his lops. So that's a shame, though, because that is, as you said, one of the cars we expected to be a front runner. Matt Priestwood, by the way, is back in the pit lane now. That's for his 2nd pit stop. So this is a key moment in the race to see where he comes out in relation in particular to the 555 of Matthew Highcock.
Yeah, which just leaves Antonio Souza now as the only driver who's yet to make a stop. The 44-year-old who's originally Brazilian but now based in Cambridgeshire, an engineer by occupation, started racing back in 2021 in the 116 trophy, and he's been loyal to it ever since. So Antonio Souza there in the number 111 car, still leading the race, and I think he has, as we've said that, now made his stop. So I think that's everybody who's anybody that's now been into the pits at least once, and some have been in twice, including the 2 front runners before the first pit stops happened. Matthew Highcock and Matt Priestwood. Looks like driver of 228 is now out of the car. There's double waved yellows on the approach. Be interesting to see what he's done about that in terms of recovery, Andy.
Yeah, if it needs a safety car, this is not a great time for there to be a safety car right in the middle of second round of pit stops being completed. Right, out of the pit lane has gone Mac Priestwood,
right.
I reckon about 30 seconds behind Matthew Highcock, which makes sense. He had that extra 30 seconds to serve. So it's all coming together quite nicely. Now that they've both done their 2 pit stops, actually, Mac would quite like to see a safety car because those 30 seconds would evaporate, or at least a chunk of it would, and we'd be game on again for the race win.
It could be perfect timing for him from that point of view, couldn't it? Of course, there will be cars between them on the road as well, and that will make things a bit more complicated. So they won't, and some of those might be on different laps as well, potentially. To add to the confusion, but anyway, we're speculating about a safety car that hasn't been called yet, so we'll wait and see what is done. If the marshals can just move that car safely down at Nickelbrook.
I wonder whether that did play into Mac Priestwood's thinking, though. Again, he's a solo driver; he can kind of pit when he likes. Did he see that car at the side of the road and think, "Hang on, this could be my chance"? So this is where the car is. I mean, there's no way he would have missed it. He would know that there was a chance of a safety car. So. I suppose it was worth a punt, wasn't it?
Definitely. 55 minutes left in this race. Antonio Sousa still shown on our timing screens as the leader. Looks like the Cezanne and Caulfield number 5 car, which was in third place pre-stops, that's now is making, I should say, its second stop. So we'll keep an eye on that one. That's one that will certainly be in play, I think. Probably likely to be between Highcock and Priestwood. When it goes back out.
It's being pushed out of its pit bay now, Ian, I can tell you, so it's going to be tight.
Yeah, I mean, well, on screen is an important battle between 2 cars that have both made both of their stops, Woodward and Dunn, and these were battling for position in the early part of the race, and now it's the 252 car of James Dunn pulling alongside Louis Woodward now. It's for 25th or position or something at the moment. But we do get the change. The 252 car has gone through. Meanwhile, what's the situation with the pit stops?
Well, out of the pit lane has gone the number 5 car as the safety car is scrambled. Safety car scrambled. Oh, wow. What does this mean? Well, we'll get to that in a moment. But I think car number 5 got out ahead of Mac Priestwood, who is the next car ahead of the battle you were just describing to us. So they are all going to be pretty much bumper to bumper. And, of course, they will all now gain time on the driver we expected to be the net race leader, Matthew Highcock. But this safety car coming out, there are still quite a lot of cars who owe us a pit stop, and I really don't think this is going to benefit them.
No, so that's the car that needs to be recovered, the James Waring Matty Street number 228 car. And there you can see safety car boards and flags being shown. So that's the car that needs to be recovered. James Waring, who is only 16 years of age, from Garstang. And he's been racing since 2022, been some karting at Wilton Mill as well, and sees a future himself in British GT, but this is his first season in car racing. He's been driving the Alexandro Ballesteros car. So that's the one that needs to be recovered now, but we are going to go into a period of caution. Yellow flags waving all around the circuit and the safety car panels being illuminated. And we'll see exactly what this means for this race, where a lot of the leading contenders now have taken 2 stops, including Matt Priestwood, who also had that 30-second pit stop penalty to serve because he won the previous race at Brands Hatch as well. Safety car hasn't picked up the race leader, so he's now waving past him all of the cars until he picks up the leader, which at the moment is the number 34 car. So he's got a few more to do there. The 34 car right now is the Lewis Tyndall and Toby O'Reilly car. Again, not sure who's at the wheel of that at the moment, but that is the race seat. The car behind the safety car at the minute is the 33 car of Sean Uden and Simon Uden.
So, Matthew Highcock is in 15th position, the highest placed car to have made 2 pit stops, the driver who was leading before the pit window opened. The next car that has made 2 pit stops is the number 5, so Anthony Seddon and Alan Caulfield's number 5 car, but that is some 20 odd seconds behind, so there's quite a bit of traffic between them. They've got a small advantage then over the 173 of Mac Priestwood, who, as I've mentioned, is basically in the same bit of track as the number 252 of James Dunn, and the 151 of Peter Keane, and so between them, the number 87 of Louis Woodward, of course. So that group, 173, 252, 87 and 151, pretty much nose to tail, but they are going to be quite a long way behind the 555 car. But things still looking good for Highcock, definitely. He's come out of all of that, crucially, still on the lead lap. They're all still on the lead lap. So once those ahead of them make their second stop, they should cycle back to the front.
Yes, indeed. So we'll try and pick them up in the queue as well, behind the safety car, as to where they're going to be. Matthew Highcock just making his way through Britain's now. So there's two cars between himself and Seddon and Caulfield. Then there's another 2 cars by the looks of it between them and Mac Priestwood. So those are both back markers, whereas the 2 between Highcock and Seddon and Caulfield are there legitimately, if you like, although they've still got another pit stop to serve. Yes,
which you'd imagine they'll probably want to get done pretty soon once the safety car is back in. I'm still struggling to figure out what's happened to James Waring's car, because the damage is on the right-hand side of the road. There was debris on the road earlier. I think that's been moved now, whether by Marshall or by other car, I'm not sure. But that would have been on the left-hand side of the road, so I struggle to see a way that he's got there on his own, but only he can tell us probably, and perhaps one other driver who may or may not have been involved. But anyway, the car's going nowhere, it needs recovery. There was, I think, a recovery vehicle heading that way.
It was.
And so it shouldn't be too long before we get the race back underway, with still over half of it to go in. We've packed a lot of action into the first just under 45 minutes.
Yeah, we certainly have here at Oulton Park for this 750 Motor Club race meeting and BMW Live. And whether you're watching it here at the circuit or on the live stream, good afternoon to you. Hope you're enjoying the racing. If you are here at the circuit, there's lots of alternative attractions besides the on-track racing. Don't forget to head into the Fogarty Moss Centre. There's various things going on in there, including a Scale Extra setup and sim racing as well. You can head around the trade stands. You can have a look at all of the beautiful display cars. Those of you watching on the stream have seen Will Beaumont having a nose around those during the course of the day as well. So lots and lots to have a look at here. I don't know if the drift rides are still going on, but they certainly were going on the sort of rally course on the inside of the circuit here at Oulton Park. And we'll, during the course of the rest of the afternoon, hopefully be hearing from all of our race winners. We'll, I think, have coverage of the presentation that took place a little bit earlier on from the BMW Car Club championship race, which took place earlier this afternoon. And I think we'll probably have another chance to hear from Will Beaumont as well during the course of the afternoon as well. But with 48 minutes of the race to go, the order looks like this in terms of the overall classification. It's number 34, Tyndall and O'Reilly that lead the way with 70 laps completed from number 121 in second place. That's the car of AJ Duffel and Luke Fox. Third is the 104 car, which is that of Dan Lavery and Ben Dobbs. Fourth is 111, which is Antonio Sousa. Fifth is number 30, Harry Miles. And sixth is 86, Pete Brand and Martin Brand. But in terms of those that have made 2 stops, the leader is treble 5 Matthew Highcock, who's in 15th position overall. Then in 18th position overall, it's Anthony Seddon and Alan Caulfield, number 5. Then it's Matt Priestwood, number 173, 252 James Dunn, 87 Louis Woodward, and 151 Peter Keane. So those are the best of the drivers that have made 2 stops at the moment behind the safety car, and while the safety car is out, drivers are not able to make any more pit stops. So we're in a sort of hiatus at the moment, Andy, where we're not necessarily going to have a lot of action while that recovery is being done down at Knickerbrook.
But it gives us plenty of time to build up the second half of this race, which is going to be fascinating, isn't it, with those leading cars all sort of bunched back together. The safety car, in a way, the best thing that could have happened from a neutral perspective, because we would have had quite a bit of separation between the race leader and second position. There is the 555 car, centre of screen, the white, blue and red sort of works BMW liveried car. That car, we believe, will come out of all of this with the race lead from there, car number 5 in second position. That would have been 20 odd seconds of a gap without the safety car, and as it is, it all gets bunched back together. Now, Granted, from what we saw in the first 20 minutes or so of racing, Highcock should have the pace to pull a bit of a lead. The key, I think, is going to be how quickly Mac Priestwood can deal with the number 5 car and then set off after him. I was saying at the first part of the race here, and I felt like maybe Priestwood was hanging back, content to sit behind Highcock, maybe saving himself for the second half of the race. Well, if he's got extra pace to spare now, Mac Priestwood, we're only probably a couple of minutes away from him having to show that.
Indeed so. Well, we've got the safety car continuing. Let's just have a look at a bit more about a few of the drivers. 34 is the car that's leading the race at the moment, Lewis Tyndall and Toby O'Reilly. And Lewis, he is 41 years old. He's a hotelier from Essex. Started racing back in 2001. And he's out in this car that was built in 2021 by Anthony Seddon Racing. But he's been successful in the past. A bit further back down the order, we've got the number 40 car in 23rd position. That's Giles Carter and Tristan Rogers. And Giles can tell you he is 49 years of age. He's yes, 49 years of age. My maths doesn't desert me. A furniture dealer from Huddersfield. Only in his second season of racing. I think it's all been in the 116 trophy. He's done some track days though, including in a Radical SR3. His future race plans, he says, include Fun Cup. So he's clearly a man of impeccable taste, isn't he, Andy? And he's out in one of the 4040 racing prepared cars at the moment. We are not going to go racing again this time, clearly. So to continue the tale of some of the drivers that are out there, car 82 is what he's won, that's being shared by 3 drivers, but it's Jamie Rolfe that I can tell you a little bit about. He is 42, originally from Plymouth, but now Sydney, Australia. He's a pilot by occupation, and he enjoys racing and brewing beer as well. And Oulton Park, he says, is his favourite circuit because of the nice mix of technical sections. And he's in a Team Hamster prepared BMW 116, of course. And then car 83, you've got Ben Atwood aboard that. He's a technical account manager. Just want to see where car 83 is. It's not in the top 27 places at the moment on my timing screen.
33rd.
33rd. So Ben, who is 33, from Bedford, technical account manager. He's got a wife and 4 Labradors, he says. He started racing in 2022 in Citroen C1s. He's done some recreational karting in the past as well. And another Team Hamster racing car. So a couple of cars entered for that team. Told you a little bit about Ben Wilshire already. 102 is worth talking about because that's the car in 10th position, belonging to James Allen and Sean Frey. James lists his date of birth as August this year, which must be wrong, but he started racing last season. He was it was his novice year last year. He's in one of the DTO cars. It's the one with yellow mirror caps on mainly black and white car. He's a market trader, and his teammate Sean Frey is a fleet manager who is 41 years of age, and he prefers Silverstone to Oulton Park. But let's head down to Kieran Mock. He's in the pit lane with one of the drivers to talk to.
I'm down here with Will Tyndall from the DTO Motorsport guys. Car 101, you're currently in 7th place. How is your race going so far?
Safety car is going to make a big difference. Yeah, pretty interesting. So we've only done 1 pit stop so far. Quite a lot of the other cars are on 2 now. Certainly the single guys are on 2. So yeah, I think the key thing is as soon as that safety car comes in, which should be just about now, there's going to be a lot of people pit stopping. So yeah, it'll all be about who gets out quick.
And who's the driver that's currently in the car?
So Ben Wilshire.
And how's Ben doing so far?
Yeah, he's done really well. Yeah, he's great. Yeah, so up to 7th at the moment, but still got another pit stop to do.
And where do you think you're going to be sort of looking to predict at the end of the race?
Yeah, we'd like to be kind of mid-teens, something like that. So around that, yeah, 14, 15 would be great.
Great. Well, good luck with your stint.
Cheers. Thanks.
Thank you very much. And back up to the comms box.
Thank you very much. It looks like we're about to go racing again, so that was very well timed indeed. The 34 car of Lewis Tyndall and Toby O'Reilly is leading the way around, and I'm just going to have a look to my left, and we do get a green flag right at the last moment. Green flag is waved and the race gets back underway. So it's Tyndall and O'Reilly that are leading the way then out there on circuit. and we'll see if anyone does make their stops. It looks like they're all going to come across the line this time, but possibly at the end of this lap, Andy, we could have quite a rush for the pit lane.
I suspect you may be right. Keep an eye, remember, on the battle going on further back for what will become the race lead as well. Down at Cascade, one of the DTO cars charging round the outside there. Some of this may be for position, but I suspect there are cars on different laps in this group as well, as they head down the Lakeside Straight side by side towards the quick left-hander at Island Bend, one of the quickest left-hand corners in British motor racing. And as we've seen already today, it can be a fairly unforgiving one, particularly on cold tyres. These cars, of course, don't run on slick tyres, but still they do require a little bit of tyre temperature, and they will have lost a little bit of that during that safety car period. Round the right-hander at Shell we go. 2x2 battling going on, and not far behind there, 555, the car of Matthew Highcock, who just really needs to stay out of trouble. This is the part of the racing where he needs to pick his battles, doesn't he? Keep the car in one piece. It will come back to him.
Yeah, I think it probably will. They're on Nankang control tyres, by the way, which are very affordably priced at less than £90 a tyre, so good way to go. Highcock is, picking off cars where he can now. Of course, it's important that he does that. Good to put as many cars between himself and drivers further back. Oh, there's a bit of leaning going on there between the 105 car and the 31 car. 31 is the car of Sam Holman and David Smith. The 105 car is the one of Darren Turner and Michael Lavery. Not quite sure who it is at the wheel at the moment, but certainly some door handle to door handle action there. Wouldn't be surprised if there was a few sort of wing mirrors folded in during the course of this 116 trophy race, as cars get a little bit too close together.
Matthew Highcock right in the middle of this as well. Now this is a nervy time, isn't it, for Matthew? Just needs to stay out of trouble. He's got pace on these cars, but just needs to pick his moments. He's looking to the inside of one of the DTO machines as we head towards Lodging.
Indeed so. Just looking, he was only 9 seconds behind the overall lead as well, Matthew Highcock, when they crossed the line to restart that race. There is Mac Priestwood, and he has got ahead, crucially, of the number 5 car of Seddon and Caulfield. So that is effectively for second position, and he almost got involved in an accident there as well. So they're coming through to the end of the lap. Sure enough, there are quite a few cars heading into the pit lane to make their stops as well.
Yep, so Priestwood is crucially about 5 seconds behind Highcock. That should be 30 seconds because of that extra time that he spent in the pit lane. So that shows how much he's gained from the safety car, and he is now in a net second position with quite a bit of traffic between himself and Matthew Highcock. But they are the cars to watch. 555 Matthew Highcock, 173 Mac Priestwood, the two who were nose to tail, bumper to bumper for much of the first 20 or so minutes of the race. Could they find themselves back together again in the closing stages, fighting for the race win?
We'll soon find out. So we've got, 38 minutes to go. So already nearly an hour into this race. It's gone by quite quickly, hasn't it? Down there in the DTO garage at the moment. Which car is that? That's the 104 car, the Dan Lavery and Ben Dobbs car that the driver is being sort of strapped into. You'll see that the timing, the stop on the phone there to make sure it's 60 seconds. They're keeping an eye on the clock. Now they know that 60 seconds have ticked around. They are pushing the car back out into the pit lane and back out into the race. A squeal of those very affordable Nankang tyres as they go, and away they go back out into the race. And look at this, we've got almost 3 wide, including Matthew Highcock, who's sort of finding it not that straightforward to get past some of the other cars that are out there. And all the while, Andy, you've got Mac Priestwood bearing down on him. So I think there's very much a race on here.
I think Priestwood has definitely taken some time out of Highcock on this lap. Highcock there trying to get around the outside of the 105 car. Of course, the trouble is the cars that he's overtaking, many of them he's overtaking for position, so there's no obligation for them to get out of the way. But also, they won't have a clue that he is the net race leader because it's just a swarm of cars around them at the moment, and they are going to put up a fight, and they are putting up a fight, and you can see the time that it's cost him. That is definitely not 5 seconds anymore.
Yeah, as you say, 5.1 seconds it was at the start of the lap. It's certainly not that now. There's about 3 or 4 cars between them. But very soon, I think we're going to get this together. One of those cars, hopefully, disappears into the pit lane, or hopefully from Mac Priestwood's point of view. So over the line they come now. Priestwood is up to 8th position and Highcock is up to 5th position, and the gap between them is now 1.8 seconds. Priestwood on that lap, in all that traffic, did the best lap of the race. Now the fuel load will have come down a bit, the car will be a bit lighter, but still, that's an impressive effort. 2 minutes 9.417 seconds, a new lap record. It's now nearly 2 seconds faster than the previous mark set by Sam Carrington-Yates.
And crucially, 3.3 seconds or so quicker than Highcock could do in all of that traffic. So the gap definitely coming down. The number 5 car, by the way, is still ahead of James Dunn and Peter Keane, but that's a pretty tight battle still for what I think will emerge as the battle for 3rd position in the closing stages. 36 minutes and a bit to go. There goes Highcock, and the next car behind him now is Matt Priestwood, who has made very short work of that group of back markers and now has just clear track between himself and potentially the race lead.
Yep, so there we go. It's going to be a battle on, and that is an incredible turnaround, helped by the safety car, no doubt about it. But Matt Priestwood here is going to think he's in with a chance of winning this race. With that 30-second penalty, he was probably thinking, well, podium might not be a bad return from this weekend, but win very much on now. But he's still got to catch and pass Matt Highcock. He wasn't able to do that in the first 20 minutes or so before the first pit stop, and Highcock is a man who's won a lot of these races, won one this year. Last year he won 3 of them. He won half of the races that we had last year, so he's difficult to beat.
He is, but I think it's going to be a great battle. We're going to definitely be the winners out of this. We get to sit back and enjoy a fight between these two. I know you make the point that Priestwood couldn't get past Highcock before, but I really don't think he was trying. I think he was quite happy just to bank those laps. And look, again, Highcock just not getting the rub of the green in traffic, delayed here into Lodge Corner. Priestwood will carry a lot more speed through the turn, a lot more speed onto the next straight, and it's now down to a couple of cars' length. The number 9 car is separating them at the moment. That is one of the additions to the programme, helpfully. But anyway, car number 9 is now the only car that Priestwood needs to get by, and then he'll be on the tail of the race leader. Up the inside into Old Hall Corner he goes, but no, the 9 car slams the door in his face.
And that's Julian Howe and Michael Loveland that are sharing the number 9 car. Julian Howe it was that started that car a long time ago now, nearly 60 minutes ago. So down they go into Cascade, and now Priestwood, I think, is going to clear that by the time they get to Ireland. Yes, he is. And so we've got the 2 leaders together again. The Spray Tech sponsored car, number 173, Matt Priestwood, the 19-year-old Power Dakota, chasing after Matthew Highcock, Treble 5, been so successful in this series over the past couple of seasons. Louis Woodward, I can see, is just heading out of the pit lane again, having made his 2nd stop, so we'll see where he filters into all of this, or 3rd stop possibly, yeah, so something unscheduled there. And we've got the whole of the DTO team have seemingly stopped together for some kind of photo opportunity or something. They're all in the pit lane at exactly the same time. I don't know if that is all of them, actually. There's 4 of them. How many cars is there altogether, do we know?
5 or 6,
5 or 6, we reckon. So there's someone still out on the circuit for the DTO team. But it sounds like one of them's about to be pushed back out into the race, which is the 101 car, which is the Ben Wilshire Will Tyndall car. So I think that'll be Will Tyndall now aboard that car, won't it? We're hearing from him a few moments ago with Kieran.
Harry Miles also has just made his final pit stop, the number 30 car that had been up there battling for the lead earlier on. Worth pointing out that actually the race is still being led by number 34, Toby O'Reilly and Lewis Tyndall. No, it's not, because the overtakes happen now. Highcock's come through at the top of Clay Hill. I was about to make the point that these two were rapidly closing in on the 34 car, and they have now found a way through it. In fairness, even though this is for position, they know this isn't their battle. They're moving out of the way of the 2nd place man, and now the top 2 in the race are cars 555 and 173, and it's a straight up fight for the win.
But we've still got 33 minutes of this race to go as well, so it could be quite a prolonged and dramatic battle between these two. Then the next of the 2 stoppers is the Harry Miles car, isn't it, at the moment, in 3rd place, but that's now dropping down, having just completed its stop. Oh, there's a huge gaggle of cars going into Old Hall outside our commentary box window.
And in that is the number 5, 252 and 151, who will be fighting for 3rd place when all is said and done. So that's another great battle going on.
So they're not too far behind the leaders, are they, really? So, no, anything could happen. We could have another situation like we had earlier on in the historic 754, where the 2 leaders collide and someone else picks up the pieces.
So that is the 105 car being overtaken. That is for 4th position. So the number 5 car going into 4th place, but 105, the DTO car, which I'm going to guess has got Michael Lavery at the wheel at the moment, is battling them for position, but owes us a pit stop. So number 5 goes through. The next to challenge will be James Dunn in the Gulf livery 252, and he needs to get a wriggle on here, really, so that the number 5 machine, the Seddon and Caulfield car, doesn't get too far up the road.
Yeah, absolutely right. Here's another little battle coming through. There it is, the 252 battle that we're seeing once again. So this is what effectively is going to be for potentially a podium position, the Clodhopper Racing. That's some great team names. We've got Team Hamster, haven't we? Now we've got Clodhopper Racing. So some imaginative names gone into all of this. Here's the lead battle though, 173. That's still the Matt Priestwood car in 2nd place. He's still got the best lap of the race, 209.417. Highcock's been in the 209s as well during this race, a 209.746. I think it's only those two that have. A few in the 210s. And the best time in qualifying actually was a 209.091 for Priestwood, so we've not had that time replicated as yet in the racing conditions. And of course, lap records only count when set in a race, not in a qualifying session. But this is now basically nose to tail.
I'm really interested to see what Priestwood does now. He's arrived on the tail of Matthew Highcock. Does he now decide, right, I'm going to go for it straight away, or is he once again content to wait, bide his time? This will be quite telling, I think, because it's the first time he's been within striking range. A 209.137, a new fastest lap in.
And he's getting closer to that time from qualifying, only a few hundredths outside of it now, about half a tenth, I would say, as they make their way down to the Cascades once again. There's, what, half a car length between them, a bonnet length maybe between them now. I mean, the thing here is, are slower cars going to come into play? Because there will be a lot of those to contend with in the next half an hour. And it could easily be a back marker that decides the course of this race.
It could very much so, especially momentum-based cars, as Priestwood gets very sideways through Island Bend. He will tell us he had that under control and it was just a nice 4-wheel drift. Maybe it was, but it looked spectacular anyway. Didn't slow him down. He carried good speed through Shell and rolls up onto the rear bumper of car 555 again, which has to go to the outside of a back marker. They will both negotiate that car before the Britain's chicane, though, so no gain or loss for either driver. It looked to me like Highcock was a bit faster through Britain's that time, though, just pulled a margin again over Priestwood as we head over the hill. Behind them, by the way, Dunn and Keane, James Dunn and Peter Keane, both got themselves ahead of the 105 DTO car, which I think is the only DTO car that owes us a pit stop now. So they are into 5th and 6th, respectively, but we're still waiting for that 34 car in 3rd position to make it stop.
It's worth mentioning, Matt Priestwood set a new fastest lap on the last lap, but Matthew Highcock also did a personal best as well, 209.610, so they are really pushing hard still, even at this stage of the race, with the win very much on the line. Another car about to go back out of this. There's not many teams that have got to make another stop now. There's only 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe about 5 teams that still need to make another stop. It's the 83 car back out into the race. That's shared 3 ways: James Cannon, Thomas Littlechild and Ben Atwood, the 3 drivers at the wheel of that car. We'll keep an eye, though, on the leaders, though, as they are about to come through to complete lap number 25 of the race, with 28 minutes to go.
Yep, and Highcock just sort of holding the middle of the road there into Old Hall Corner before drifting over to the racing line. Bit of debris on the track. Where's that? Knickerbrook, I think. Exit off. It's off the racing line, but there isn't really a gap in the... Oh, well, there is a gap in the traffic for the marshals to run out to collect it, because that's exactly what they did. So that's not going to present a problem for long. Car 105 is back in now for its final pit stop. And I reckon, looking out the window, that's Darren Turner about to get on board. But for the race lead in, it's spicing up, heading towards Island Bend.
Yeah, it certainly is. They are absolutely together now through the left-hander at Island. And again, a bit of sideways action, but it looks like Matt Priestwood has done it. Get confirmation as they arrive at the right-hander, but Shallow corner, and he has. Matt Priestwood has gone through into the lead of the race from Matthew Highcock now in 2nd place. He's overcome a 30-second penalty, a success penalty that he had to serve at his first pit stop, aided by the safety car, no doubt about that, but he's really got his head down in this second part of the race, and he's got through now ahead of Matthew Highcock. who is off the road as he comes over Hilltop. Well, that was dramatic. Not quite sure how that happened. There was no other cars around, so maybe just pushing too hard as he tried to get back on terms with Matt Priestwood, and it's been counterproductive.
Quite easy to hit that curb a bit too hard at the exit of Britons and bounce onto the grass. Maybe that's what he did, but anyway, that means that now Matt Priestwood doesn't really have any threat as they head over Deer Leap for the 26th time of asking. There is the 105 car, trying to peer into that car to see whether it is Darren Turner getting on board. I suspect it probably will be. 82 is in as well for its final pit stop of the race. There's a 5-second penalty, by the way. It's been handed to Simon Moss and Bartholomew Lang in the 989 car. They're also in serving their final pit stop. 5 seconds, I'm going to guess, for exceeding track limits.
I would have thought so.
That will be added on at the end of the race.
Yeah, it will be. And yeah, how much of a difference that will make at the end, not quite sure, but we'll find out. The penalties do step up the more and more times you are found guilty of exceeding track limits. And so if the next time they do it, it might be 15, or go up to 15 seconds from 5 seconds, and then potentially another 30 seconds on top of that. Then you get into really serious territory. So there is now a car between the two race leaders, and so that's delaying Matthew Highcock a little bit, about allowing Matt Priestwood to make his escape. It'd be interesting to see if there is anything that Matthew Highcock can do now to come back at Matt Priestwood. Possibly he'll just sort of regather his thoughts for a couple of laps, preserve the car, but he can't afford to give too much away. He's already about a second or so behind the race leader, and that will be tough to make up again. I think he does need to keep Priestwood in his sights and possibly hope that Priestwood has a bit of bad luck with back markers or yellow flags or something like that, or makes some other mistake.
Yeah, Highcock has kept his headlights on, hasn't he, which is a sign that he's still pushing. You can see he's still pushing as he rattles over the curbs through all 3 elements of the Britain's chicane. But yeah, just slipping back ever so slightly now as they drop down towards Hislops. He's up the inside of a lapped car there, turning into the chicane. Clears that pretty swiftly. That was the 83 of James Cannon, Tom Littlechild and Ben Atwood. And that car stays dutifully out of the way. But yeah, Matt Highcock is going to have to push now and dig deep. There's more debris now on the road exiting Knickerbrook. But again, thankfully that is more or less off the racing line, I'd say.
Yeah, shouldn't pose too much of a problem. So here's Priestwood putting a lap on the 105 DTO car. And we're going to head down to the pit lane once again. Kieran Mogg has found somebody else to talk to.
Yes, I'm down here at garage number 10 with Darren Turner from the DTO Motorsport and the 105 car. You've just jumped out of the car from your session. How was it out there?
It was good until I looked up and I just saw time penalty 105 plus 5 seconds. So I thought I had a good stint, but obviously not. So I think that must be down to some track limits maybe. I don't know, maybe. But I loved it. It's like the first couple of laps, made up a few places, was getting stuck in. And then as everyone got up to speed, I just started to drop back. I don't know if we were one of the last cars to come in for the pit stop or not, so it's a good hour or so in the little BMW, but yeah, had a great time. DTO guys have done a great job, made me feel at home, first experience with the car after qualifying, so yeah, loved it.
And how are you finding the competition out there?
Yeah, they're strong, aren't they? Yeah, they're a feisty bunch out there, but like really good fun. I mean, there's a bit of like trading paint, but nothing like too aggressive. And yeah, there's a bit of hand waving from people and bits and bobs. But yeah, what you expect when you're on a sort of a tight, twisty circuit like Oulton Park, and then you know the cars are so close in terms of performance, so you are going to trip over people, and that's just this type of racing, is it? But yeah, with 38 cars out there, it was a lot of fun.
Absolutely, and obviously this isn't like a normal race day, it's a whole event that's going on with BMW Live and everything. How are you finding the event as a whole?
It's great. I mean, I always love coming back to Oulton Park. It's such a wonderful circuit, very open, and you know everyone's having a nice time here on days like this. And yeah, it's good to see so many races on one day, really. So yeah, I'm used to sort of maybe one or two on a day, and that's it. So yeah, with a packed calendar or schedule that they've got today, it's been great to have a look around and just see what's out on the racetrack.
Absolutely. Well, good luck for the rest of the race, and hope that penalty doesn't cause too many issues.
Well, we'll see. I mean, now it's number 83, so yeah, you know, I don't know. Yeah, hopefully Mikey doesn't get any more penalties on 105.
Absolutely. Good luck.
Thanks very much.
Cheers, thank you very much. And head back up to guys up in the commentary box.
where we've got 22 minutes of the race left to go, and it's Matt Priestwood leading by about a second still. It's sort of stayed at that kind of gap for a couple of laps now, so 173 leading from 555. Matthew Highcock in second place. In third place, it's the number 5 car, Anthony Seddon and Alan Caulfield. They're about 8 seconds behind the leader. Then we are looking on screen now, a decent battle further down the order. This is for 6th and 7th place. It's the 186 car of Daniel and Jamie Petters and the treble 8 car of David Hudson. So he was one of the drivers to make both of his stops relatively early. And we've got this nice little fight going on, Andy, for 6th and 7th.
Yes, now they had swapped positions actually on this lap. Hudson had got ahead of Petters, but then got it all wrong through his lops, and Petters took it straight back again. So briefly we had a change for 6th position, and the Triple Eight car will now try to make the move stick for good at Lodge Corner. Up the inside he goes, the door's going to close. That's always slightly concerning. From that angle, way wide over the curb they go, and they will be side by side again, heading up and over Deer Leap. But yeah, this is a very entertaining tussle. Is it going to be decided in the favour of car Triple Eight? I think it may be. They've got the inside line heading for Old Hall Corner, and that usually is the best place to be, at least on the way in. Can Petters get the switch back, carry the momentum down the straight though towards Dentons and Cascades? He's going to try the right hand side of the road. That gets blocked off, so he thinks, okay, I'll go to the left instead, but that doesn't work, and so it is car Triple Eight then, Hudson, who manages to move through, but that was an overtake, nearly a full lap in the making.
It might not surprise you to know that David Hudson is originally from Johannesburg.
Yes.
In his BMW 116, their second season of racing. Jeff still racing prepared car, and he's owned the car for one season now. Now based in Surrey. He's 49 years of age, already retired and enjoying his racing in the 116 trophy, where he's just found another place. Up to 6th he's gone. We'll see if the Petters car is one that's going to drop back, but doesn't look like it at the moment, Andy.
Well, except they will drop back because they've just picked up a 5-second penalty. And they're only 2.8 seconds ahead of the number 28 car, which is Melissa Bexley, in 8th position. So they will lose 1 place when that's applied. We're seeing a bit of a spate of track limits penalties creeping in now late in the day. Remember, they're not changing tyres during pit stops, so they're running out of grip now. The drivers are probably getting quite tired, especially those who are solo driving. And we're getting to the part of the race where actually you start asking more of driver and car as we get into the closing stages. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see a bit more of that.
Absolutely. Melissa Bexley, yes, doing very well in 8th position there, isn't she? She's a vehicle technician from Sunderland, 31 years of age, Mel as she prefers to be known, and been racing for a couple of seasons in both the 116 Trophy and the Armed Forces Race Challenge as well. And she's another driver that says she loves Oulton Park, and this car is one that she prepares herself. So that's Mel Bexley, going very well in 8th position overall, number 28. That's the 83 car. That's a car that's in the penalty area. So there's been some kind of misdemeanour committed by James Cannon, Thomas Littlechild and Ben Atwood. I'm not quite sure what that is for, but it's usually probably something to do with a pit lane infringement, speeding, or a short stop or something like that. But Anna's just looking down the list of penalties, and yeah, nothing noted there, I don't think.
No, just a stop-go penalty. We've had 15 seconds added on now to car 969. So as you said earlier on, that was 5 seconds. It's now been increased with extra track limits misdemeanours taking place. So yeah, that has unfortunately ruined their chances of a decent result. But yeah, track limits a talking point always these days, but particularly towards the end of long distance races where, like I said, mistakes are perhaps a bit more likely to happen. At the front of the field, Matt Priestwood now 2.1 seconds clear of Matthew Highcock in second place. Highcock lapping actually slower now, slightly, than the Seddon and Caulfield car in third place, but that gap is 8 seconds. They're 2.6 ahead of Peter Keane. So Peter Keane's got himself ahead of James Dunn. I don't think I noticed that yet, for fourth position.
Yeah, and of course Peter Keane was there in fourth position in the early stages of the race as well, so everything is being restored back to its more or less natural order, with the exception of the fact that Matt Priestwood now is ahead of Matthew Highcock, and there's a bit more daylight between them now, and a good few cars between them as well, certainly a couple of them, as they make their way up to complete lap number 30 of this race.
Oh, but look at this though, side-by-side battle just in front of Matt Priestwood, the race leader, so he is facing the potential of losing some time here. Highcock was launching up the inside of a back marker further back. I think he knows that he's got to try and capitalise on these situations as Highcock if he's going to have any shot at Priestwood in the closing stages.
Yeah, 17 minutes to go, and Priestwood really can do without almost leaning on one of those DTO cars there. He's going to get through here, but the last thing he needs is a collision with one of these cars after all the work he's done. But equally, because Highcock isn't too far behind, he can't afford to play it ultra safely, can he? He's really got to just keep making as much progress as he can here, because now there's just one car between them. And what 2.1 seconds as one of them goes off on the grass, what was 2.1 seconds is now looking like it is soon going to be less than a second, I would have thought.
Yeah, I think so. Let's see if he can get past the 106 car quickly here, Highcock. The 106 car, the DTO car, will pull out of the way. That's good news. So Matthew Highcock gets to the inside line, and yes, on the previous lap, not only did Priestwood have a slow lap in traffic, but actually Highcock set his personal best lap of the race. Apologies if you mentioned that already, a 2:09.3, so 9/10 gain, but it's not just Priestwood getting slower, it is Highcock getting quicker.
Yeah, it certainly is. Flat out, it says on the side of his car, which is appropriate. He's having to push flat out here to try and get back on terms with Matt Priestwood in the closing stage of the race. But it does seem to me, I mean, there's a lot of quality and depth in the 116 trophy this year, but these are the two drivers who are just a little cut above the rest, don't they, it would seem. I mean, in terms of time, they're not a huge distance ahead of Seddon and Caulfield at Keenan. Maybe other circuits will suit them better, but here at Oulton Park, it's really all about these two drivers who are now in successive track position. No cars between them now. Let's have a look at the gap as they come up the line. It was 1.3. It might be roughly the same, actually, as they come across the line this time. In fact, it's gone out to 1.5 seconds. Both of them lapping in the 2-minute 10s that time. They had quite a few things going on, so they couldn't really set their best lap times.
Yeah, this will be the important lap because they're both in clean air, at least for the time being. But as I just saw, there is another group of back markers not that far ahead. They will likely catch them in the second half of the lap. So in clean air, can Highcock still maintain the same pace as Priestwood? If he can't, then that tells us he is really reliant on the traffic. But we will find out in another 2 minutes, just under 2 minutes. They head towards Island Bend on this, the 32nd lap of the race, with just under a quarter of an hour still to go in it. And Highcock at least is keeping himself in the window that if there is an issue or a little delay for Priestwood, he's close enough to take advantage.
That's absolutely right. Into the final sixth of this race, 14.5 minutes are left to go here. It's 1.73 Matt Priestwood leading from 5.55 Matthew Highcock in second, number 5 Anthony Seddon, Alan Caulfield in third place, 1.51 Peter Keane in fourth, 2.52 James Dunn in fifth, treble 8 David Hudson in sixth. And then it's the Petters car, 1.86, 28 Mel Bexley, 87 Louis Woodward, who had 3 stops for some reason, and 47, which is Connor Anderson, who I think in the end is driving solo in the 47 car.
Ooh, Highcock had to take a risk there at the inside of, I think, car number 8 that was, wasn't it? John Turner and Robert Rees's number 8 machine. But he's taking the risk because he can see the gap coming down. He's definitely gained over the first 2/3 of this lap over the Mac Priestwood. As they head through towards Druid, there you can see visibly the gap. I don't think that's 1.5 seconds anymore. And of course, the closer Highcock gets, the more confidence he will feel. He's wide at Druids though, and undoes, I suspect, all of the hard work that he'd done thus far on this lap, and almost threw it away altogether. But the closer he gets, the more incentivised he is to keep pushing, and the more pressure Priestwood is under.
Absolutely right. So up the line there, come on. I think that gap's going to have gone out again from 1.5 seconds. Someone's getting a black flag there, which is telling them to call into the pits, possibly to serve a penalty.
Peter Keane, that is, in 4th place.
Ah, right. So that is interesting. One of the front runners is being called into the pits, and yeah, you can only pass that black flag so many times before people start getting very upset. The gap went out to more than 2 seconds, only by 9,000, more than 2 seconds, but nevertheless, it had gone out. A couple more back markers though here for Matt Priestwood to focus on. One of them is the R.A. Potter car, which is number 30, isn't it? That's the car of Harry Miles. And then also there's the 31 car, I think, Sam Holman, David Smith car ahead. And the 30 car's gone off. Well, that's off at Island Bend, so that's made it a little bit easier. Still a 31 car there for Matt Priestwood to try and get past. And I think this has delayed him a bit. There's the car that's recovering onto the circuit, number 30, which is the car that is in, or was in 19th position. Priestwood climbing out of Britain's up towards Hilltop, local high point of the circuit, and will drop back down to the right left at Hislops. On an overcast afternoon here at Oulton Park now.
Ooh, 31 turning across in front of Highcock there. Highcock, I could have done without that really. Any little delay that he has now is going to take away time that he's got to chase after the race leader. Now that car gets out of the way, but a little bit too late for Matthew Highcock's liking. But every corner that comes, there is always the potential for more back markers. It only takes one lapped car to appear on an apex somewhere, particularly in a high-speed corner, and you could lose a second easily. So Highcock's just got to keep the pressure on as long as he can.
Certainly has. This is the third race of the season for these cars. There is another 4 to come after this. They go to Anglesey on the 7th of July, Sletton, the 300 circuit on the 4th of August, Croft on the 22nd of September, and the 13th of October they're at Donington Park for their concluding event of the season. I say no championship points or anything like that at stake in the 116 trophy. It's all about the individual races. As we said, so far this season it's been one apiece between Matt Priestwood and Matthew Highcock. Priestwood winning last time out at Brands Hatch and looking to add to that success here today.
Yep, heads through Cascades Corner. The 1-2-1 car of Luke Fox and AJ DeFeel are together as they head for Island Bend. And he's going to get past that car pretty easily. He's just catching those back markers at nice, easy parts of the circuit, isn't he? Off the corners, down the straights, whereas it feels like Highcock's just having to put a bit more work in to make his way around the lapped traffic. So round Shell they go. Peter Keane, by the way, not yet served this penalty, which is it's a shame he's got it because he's catching the Seddon and Caulfield car for third place, but it's not really going to matter with the penalty applied in the closing stages. 10 minutes to go.
Paul White and Lewis White and Turner, car 10, they've now got a 5-second penalty for exceeding track limits as well. They're in 19th position. As we continue to work our way through. We've got the cars here at Shallows Corner now. We've picked up the second place car. He's just getting past that back marker 1-2-1 as well, the Duffel and Fox car. That means that again, briefly, there's no cars between the two race leaders, although I think that Matt Priestwood is about to change that by going ahead of the 104. Yes, he is at Druids Corner, the 104 car of Laffery and Dobbs. Out of Druids goes Matt Highcock in second position, trying to chase down the 173 car of Matt Priestwood. 9 minutes to go, and that's going to be probably at most 5 laps that he's going to have. Oh, and the 1-2-1 car had a big moment there, but I think caught it back in again on the exit of Lodge Corner without too much damage done. So yes, the 969 car yet to make a stop-go penalty. Take a stop-go penalty. That's the Moss and Lang car. That's well down the order, that one, isn't it, at the moment? There's Priestwood, a couple of cars between himself and Highcock here. As we work into the closing stages of this race, every sort of lap that ticks down now, it's going to get hard for Matthew Highcock to bounce back here and get the win, which will be a disappointment for him, I think, after a strong showing earlier on in the race.
Yeah, seemed to have control of the race, didn't he? Had it not been for the safety car, it would have been a very different second half of the race. I think there's the 969 car finally serving its stop-go penalty. So they'll have a rap on the knuckles and sent back out on their way. But yeah, Highcock will rue that safety car, definitely, because I'm not convinced that even Matt Priestwood could have bridged a 30-second gap. I think Highcock probably would have been able to control the race from there, wouldn't he? But that's racing, and with the rules set as it is with regards to pit stops during safety cars, it all worked out the way of Priestwood. but he still has to keep the car on the island for another 7.5 minutes amongst all of this traffic, where things can so easily go wrong. But so far so good. There is the 11th placed car. Appropriately, that is number 111, Antonio Sousa, who is just outside of the top 10 then. Makes his way across the timing line, and yeah, 23 seconds away from the top 10, but still on for a decent result.
Yeah, he had a 10-second extra penalty to serve because he was on the podium at Brands last time, and yeah, he's 23 seconds, as you say, behind the car in front, so it's not particularly done him any damage in terms of finishing position here. He's not going to quite get the result here that he had down at Brands, but maybe this is just a circuit that doesn't suit him quite as well as the Indy circuit at Brands Hatch. But we've got 6.5 minutes to go now. Oh, and the 82 car there, slow coming into our shot, which is the Mark McCulloch, Stefan Guarneri and Jamie Rolfe car. Didn't quite see what was causing that to be particularly slow.
That happened just in front of the battle on the road, at least, for 6th position between 888 Hudson and 186 Petters, although, of course, Petters has this 5-second penalty, but if he could get through and pull 5 seconds over Hudson, then he would retain what would be 6th position.
Mel Bexley's not too far behind either. She's there, right there as well. So she could be in with a shot of a top 6 here, with 6 minutes of the race left to go.
She's the white car, I think, isn't she, at the back of that shot? So, yeah, needs to get past those 2 lapped cars, but if these two start battling, she could very easily become a part of the battle as well. But this really looks like being the tightest scrap now, doesn't it, to the flag? 5 minutes, 40 seconds left, and these two cars have been inseparable, really, since the safety car.
Yeah, no, good scrap has gone on between these two. Bexley, as yet unable to find a way past the 82 and the 9 car. The 9 car being that of Julian Howe and Michael Loveland. So we'll see if she can ease her way through there and take the fight to these cars disputing 6th place before the end of the race, which is now not too far away here at Oulton Park at BMW Live. The 750 Motor Club organised race meeting. So they turn their way through the left-hander at Island Bend, down to the far end of the circuit at Shallows Corner, the banked right-handed hairpin. They'll come off that now, head down towards Britain's the left chicane. After that then they climb up to Hilltop, then back down to Hislops, the right, left, right. Hislops and Knickerbrook. Hudson there, man from South Africa, is doing his best to keep the 186 car of Daniel and Jamie Petters at bay.
Yeah, those 2 lapped cars behind having a really entertaining battle. I'm not actually sure if that's for position or not, but they are not leaving each other alone. Oh, now 5-second penalty for car 5. That's the Seddon and Caulfield car. Ooh. That's in 3rd position. It's 4.4 seconds ahead of Peter Keane. But did Peter Keane not pick up a penalty?
Did he not get black flag? I've lost track of who got what
black
penalty
and
now.
white, okay. But then I'm sure I recall a penalty being applied as opposed to just a black and white warning flag. Maybe I misread it, but at the moment he's not showing with a penalty.
Yeah.
If that's the case, he's within 5 seconds of car number 5. There is car number 5 at Island Bend. And if the timing screen is to be believed, they could lose a podium position.
Yeah, certainly could. See how that pans out. Yes, I mean, the thing is, you never know. There could be others on the cusp of getting a penalty as well that may not have been sort of applied until after the race has finished. So we've always got to be mindful of that, especially in a long race. In a 90-minute race, obviously there's a lot more chances to pick up a track limits penalty than there is in a 15 or a 20-minute race, as logic would dictate. So but the penalty regime is the same. So here is that 5 car. There's 4.8 seconds between this car and Peter Keane at the minute. Also, not quite that much, 4.4 seconds. Oh, and that's getting a little bit too close ahead.
It was the 106 car diving to the inside of Sam Holman and David Smith's number 31. But this is all happening in front of the Seddon and Caulfield car, and the last thing they want right now is to be held up in traffic, isn't it? And that's exactly what is likely to happen.
Yeah, I think it's quite likely to happen looking at this. Obviously blue flags are waving to let slower cars know that quicker cars are coming, but they don't need to jump out of the way. They don't carry the same sort of wait as they do in Formula 1, for example, which are more of an instruction than a warning. So 5 car going through, just in behind the 33 car of Simon Newton and Sean Newton there. And going to get past that now, and then it'll be the 1-2-1 car that they need to look at, the Duffin and Fox machine. More blue flags on the way into Oulton corner. Great gaggle of these 116s there. And I mean, the other thing to note, we've seen pretty good reliability from all of these cars, which is very usual. They're usually pretty robust and bulletproof. We've had 1 or 2 incidents, I think, but I've not seen too much in the way of mechanical issues during the course of this race.
Yeah, only 1 car not running, and that is the 228 of James Waring. We know why he's not running. The other car that we know had an issue was number 78. That is back out on track now, 5 laps down. Apart from that, I've not noticed any mechanical dramas really for anybody. So yeah, great advert for the champion, or for the series, that isn't it? The cars are not only affordable, not only great fun to drive, not only do they produce brilliant racing, but also you're not likely to have to spend thousands upon thousands on maintaining the car just so that it makes it to the end of the race. So what more could you want?
Right, on the last lap, Matt Priestwood did a lap within about 4/10 of his best, sorry, 400ths of his best. So he is still pushing hard, and he can't afford not to, because Matthew Highcock is still in reasonably close proximity. He was 2.7 seconds behind at the start of the lap. I think they'll get 1 more lap here, won't they?
Yes.
Just about 1 more lap out of this race. I'm just keeping an eye on the finish line marshal to see if they pick up the checkered flag, but Matt Priestwood is turning his way through Druids now. Out of Druids then, this undulating part of the circuit under the vehicle bridge, up towards Lodge Corner, 32 seconds to go. So yes, he should cross the line once more before the checkered flag is waved. The compression in Deer Leap now, over the crest he goes and over the line, and yep, no checkered flag there, so he's going to have 1 more lap to go. I'm sure he wouldn't have minded seeing the checkered flag there. The gap is still about 2.8 seconds, so not really changed much from what it was a lap ago. But now Matt Priestwood, having overcome that 30-second penalty, is leading the field on to the last lap with an advantage of just a shade under 3 seconds.
Car 103 adds its name to the ever-increasing list of teams being given a 5-second penalty. There are, by my maths, about 7 of them at the moment racing under a 5-second penalty to be applied. That's one of the DTO cars, but none of this affecting the race leaders, who are 2.8 seconds apart as they head down the Lakeside Straight for the final time. But a good drive from Matthew Highcock, in fairness. He will count himself reasonably unlucky, I think, after this one. All things being equal, he should have been the winner. But that safety car allowed Matt Priestwood to close the gap, and then in fairness, Matt got the job done. He still had to fight his way through the traffic. He wasn't on the rear bumper of Highcock at the restart. He had to bridge a fairly sizable gap, and then of course get the job done on track, which wasn't the work of a moment, but he's managed to get his way through, bounces over the curbs one last time, as does a sideways Matthew Highcock in second place, less than half a lap from the flag.
Yeah, well, it's not a championship, of course. If it was, Matt Priestwood would be very handily positioned here, because this looks like he's going to be his 2nd win in a row. He was also 2nd in the opening race of the season at Brands Hatch as well, so not yet outside of the top 2 during the course of this season. Highcock, meanwhile, has had a 1st and an 8th at Brands Hatch, but as I say, no points awarded, so it's slightly academic. So it's Priestwood, the 19-year-old from Halifax, making his way up through Water Tower towards Druids for the 39th time in this race. Out of Druids he comes down with the sun now beaming down at Oulton Park. Clouds of, well, there's a break in them at least to mark the end of this race, and Priestwood, youngster, is looking good here for another victory in the GAZ Shocks 116 trophy. It's the 3rd race of the season, and it's a 2nd win for Matt Priestwood. He takes the applause from the pit wall, and he has been very, very strong here. He's won by 2.8 seconds from the treble 5 car of Matthew Highcock, and they are away clear of the rest. We do need to sort out with penalties what's going on here. Oh, and there's 1 car off there, the rest of them coming through. So Seddon and Caulfield have come through, but on adjusted times by less than 0.3 of a second. It's Peter Keane, 151, that will complete the podium position. Seddon Caulfield, number 5, demoted narrowly to 4th place. Sorry, 1.1 seconds in the end between them. Then James Dunn 252 is 5th, and then it should be David Hudson 6th. And there's a very large cheer from the pit wall for one of the cars coming through there. Wasn't quite sure which one that was. But that's been a really good drive from Matt Priestwood, hasn't it?
It has indeed, and this, remember, is the battle on the road for 6th position, which isn't yet over. Now, Hudson will finish 6th in the Triple Eight as long as he doesn't make a mistake at the last corner, but Petters is driving as if this is a genuine battle for the position. The 8 car is being lapped, it's getting in the way, they're clattering into the side of each other off Lodge Corner. Well, it will be a notional drag race to the line. It won't really be this close at the end. It's certainly catching the attention of those on the pit wall. On the road, Hudson was ahead by 34 thousandths of a second, but it will be a 5.034 second margin in the end after the penalty is applied to 186.
And it was very close for 8th, but it's just Louis Woodward after that extra stop that has snuck into that position by about 0.7 of a second from Mel Bexley. So she is in the end classified 9th, and I still think we're waiting for a 10th place driver to come through. It should be the 47 car of Conor Anderson, I think, that completes the top 10 when he eventually arrives. There he is now, just across the line. So Conor Anderson it is that rounds out the top 10 at the end of that Gas Shocks 116 trophy race. Very dramatic race it has been. Lots of good action. Actually generally pretty good driving standards, I thought, given so many cars on track on a technical and demanding circuit. We've had good reliability. A pretty good advert, I would say, for the Gas Shocks 116 trophy. And if you're interested in getting involved in racing, then this is as good a place as any to start out. And I'm sure any of the teams will be very happy to talk to you about how you can get involved. Let's have a look at the results, though. At the end of 39 laps and 90 minutes of racing, number 173, Mac Priestwood, it was that took the win. By 2.873 seconds from Matthew Hycott, 555 in 2nd place. In 3rd place, it was the 151 car of Peter Keane. 4th, number 5, Anthony Seddon and Alan Caulfield. 5th, number 252, which was James Dern. 6th, number Treble 8, David Hudson. 7th, the 186 car of Daniel and Jamie Petters. 8th, number 87, Louis Woodward. 9th was 28, Melissa Bexley, or Mal Bexley. And Conor Anderson, 47, rounded out the top 10 ahead of Antonio Sousa in 111, Tyndall and O'Reilly in 34, Freddie Tatham in 89, and Ethan Hall, he had an off, didn't he, on the way. He was 14th in car 25. And further back, you can see the two brands, Pete and Michael Brand were in 15th place there, Lavery and Dobbs 16th, Cavallo and Lindsay 17th, Fox and Duffel 18th, Miles in 19th, and Holman and Smith rounded out the top 20. All of these drivers, as you can see, a lap down, and there are more on the next screen, which we'll scroll through now. And there you can see we did have just the one retirement. I think 37 cars were still running at the end of the race, which is really impressive, a testament to the preparation that the teams put in for the Gas Shocks 116 trophy. And as I say, they are back out at Anglesey in about a month's time. And I think, are we together for that one as well, Andy? I've got a feeling we might be.
I think we might be, yes.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll look forward to that. Cars heading into Parc Fermé, so hopefully shortly we'll be able to hear from our top 3. Reminder, though, that still 5 more races to come here this afternoon here at Oulton Park. We've got the Jedi Racing Cars F1000 Championship coming up next, followed by the BMW Car Club Racing Championship, second race of the day for those. The Race Parts Historic 750 Formula Series, which has a handicap race this time, the Armed Forces Race Challenge, and rounding out the day, the Ultimate BMW Race. But first, let's head down once again to the Parc Fermé and Kieran Mogg.
Well, the 116 trophy certainly never ever fails to deliver, and you had to work for that one.
Yeah, we definitely did. Very close battle at the beginning before pit window opened. We did 2 fairly early pit stops. We came out of the pits after the first one. We had a bit of clean air, so got our heads down. I think we got 2 or 3 laps clean air, so that was good for us. Came out of the second pit stop, I think theoretically 3rd, I believe. And then obviously safety car came out, so that was great. Early safety car, especially with his 30-second success penalty we had from the last round. And then from then out, we just got his head down. Had a little bit of a battle with Matt to get past him. And then with traffic and just getting his head down. Consistent 209, so really good race.
And how have you found the traffic management today?
Good. I mean, I think we always seem to do quite well with getting around traffic. Pretty happy with it, to be fair.
Absolutely. And obviously you're currently leading the Sprint Championship. Does it obviously giving you a bit more confidence for the rest of the year?
I mean, yeah. great, really good pace today. Obviously, we're always going for first, you know, but 30-second penalty, you've got to be sensible. But obviously, we came through with some really good pace, and obviously, I really want to move on to something bigger and better next year now or this year if anyone's got anything for me. So,
Silent little plug there. Well, congratulations on the win.
thank you very much.
Cheers, thank you. And we'll grab Matt Highcock over here. Matt, if I can just grab you a second. It was close, but not quite. But you had one hell of a battle there.
Yeah, the start of the race was really close. Good battle with Mark. Had a bit of problem with back markers after the safety car. Not too bad, like, but Mark's pace was ridiculous, and I was trying my hardest to keep up with him. He's really fast, obviously. Yeah.
How did you find the conditions out there?
Mixed. I mean, there was a lot of grass and dirt on the track in places from people going off, but other than that, it was all right. Yeah, not bad. Yeah.
Well, congratulations on the second at least. But obviously next time, obviously you go for the win.
Yeah, I'll try.
So good luck then. Thank you very much.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers, thank you. And head back up to the commentary box with Ian and Andy.